Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Samit from TalksOnGround. Hope you're well. So, just a few days back, I had done a video on Trump's motivations to what it seems like a pivot away from India. Forget the strategic partnership. US is effectively opposing everything that starts with INDIA, as in India. So today we are going to talk about whether India is lying down, India is on the back foot, or whether India is countering this obvious strategic pivot by the US. Is this a temporary blip? Is this a long term move which will have major ramifications for the world? Is something we will see down the line. But right now, we're going to just talk about what India has done, and that will give us an idea as to how deep this drift between the two parties is. Now, I'm going to just bring this here. So, has India surrendered quietly and bowed down to US economic, diplomatic, and military pressure also, if you look at Bangladesh? Is India paralyzed, not countering anything, neither defending its what you call strategic autonomy? Or has India struck back? So let's start with what we know are very obvious things right now. Now I'm going to go one by one, so please bear with me a little bit. So on March 10th, sorry, May 10th, the fighting between India and Pakistan was called off, or rather, is on a standstill right now. And there was a ceasefire, and Trump very quickly and very loudly and very publicly started taking credit for it. And he kind of said, "Oh, I've stopped a nuclear conflict." And remember, for the first 3 days, this started on the night of May 6th, which is May 7th, early morning. There was a huge media blitz around the world about India losing five jets, including the very high end Rafales that everyone is worried about in the neighborhood. Now, the question is, what did India do? It is right after May 10th that India started countering it with their DGMO's press conference, where each of these questions were taken. And of course, India didn't confirm or deny whether anything was lost. As days have passed on, the whole theory about Rafale being downed has been busted, and busted for good. And do remember, this was a concerted Pakistan, China, US propaganda war. And I say US also because basically US publications were going after Indian military in a way, and they were saying, no, no, the Chinese are so good and all that. And those articles, by the way, are now not only disappearing, but they're starting to be on the back foot. So I'm going to just bring up something for you. Now, remember, uh, in the early days of the war, there was a lot of confusion. No one knew what was happening. So, a lot of people were questioning how many Rafales have fallen down, and the what do you call the Chinese equipment is so good, and so on. So, this is a very, very important thing. I'm just searching for one very interesting tweet. Ta. Okay, so this guy has been on fire, so I'm going to ignore him for now. But let's just say that if you see this picture, there is this red and yellow thing. This is a decoy plane, which is also called a target plane, and a lot of times this is used in training and otherwise, especially in war exercises. And now news is coming out that these things were used as decoys, and that's these were the things that were shot down and claimed as kills by the Pakistanis. This is now coming from the highest echelons of the Indian military. So the first strike back by India is against this propaganda. Is it too late? Is it too little? We can debate that. But surely something has been churned, if I may. Now, if I was to bring the other thing on, India has been building new partnerships. Now there is a Indo-Saudi uh, deal which was to be signed on 22nd of April, when this whole Pahalgam terror incident actually happened, and then Trump traveled to Saudi Arabia and signed a big deal. From whatever we know, the whatever items that India had to sign with Saudi Arabia has gone ahead, even though the trip was cut short. So it's not like India is not moving forward diplomatically. Now remember, Saudi is a key, like a swing power. Whichever ways it goes, it will really impact how the geopolitics moves forward. This is not all. Jaishankar, India's foreign minister, has been in Europe for the last few days. He's gone to many countries. He's talking about a FTA. He's kind of opposed in a very indirect manner whatever Trump has been saying. And in a recent interview with a Denmark TV, whatever, he said that no, no, we were very far away from nuclear war, and it is just a cover that people give to Pakistan so that India does not really go uh, beyond a certain escalation ladder. So it's a very clever way of keeping India in check. This is what Jaishankar said and not me. So, in other words, Trump's ceasefire, nuclear, whatever that I showed you in the first picture, that has been rejected. So, India is effectively replying to Trump. Now, there's more. Foxconn. Now, this manufactures on behalf of Apple a lot of iPhones in India. Almost 20% of iPhones around the world are now manufactured in India. Trump has been making incendiary statements saying that Samsung and Apple have to produce in America. I wonder who will purchase $3,500 iPhones if they ever were produced in America. And whatever they do, it is just impossible to match Indian labor costs because India is a much poorer country. It's that simple. It's common sense, and I really don't understand what Trump is getting at. I mean, why will Apple produce iPhones in the US and lose market share? Because that is exactly what will happen. So, the fact that Foxconn has announced an investment means that the Apple investment is not only going forward, it is actually increasing. And Tim Cook on his own has also kind of rejected that he's moving out or away from India. Now, what happens later on, we don't know. Going back to trade again, there was a on May 6th there was a free trade agreement that UK signed with India, and India and UK have had a lot of problems. And as you can see, India has been going to Europe big time, and I think this shows a pivot away from the US. So US is pivoting away from India towards Pakistan, and if I may, China. Uh, and India is effectively countering this by moving more towards UK and Europe. And you can see from the visits and the deals and the importance that is being given there. So that is the other aspect. Now there is other things that India is doing, and one of them is a bit more, should I say, internal. So there is this gentleman Tharoor who is opposition leader. He was recently in the US. He's going back on the third with a all-party delegation of MPs, members of parliament, and they are explaining India's position. They're talking to think tanks and think tankers and analysts, and they're also really talking about how India has been restrained. But going forward, India would not hesitate to strike whenever required. The uh, in Pakistan. So this is a very important thing, and I think um, going forward, you're going to see a very strident Indian position on a lot of these matters. I'm also going to show you something else which is happening within India. It is of importance. This is a group of Bangladeshis who are basically waiting to be deported back to Bangladesh. I cannot verify the authenticity of this photograph, But I can tell you from all that I've heard from newspaper reports and friends and so on, there is a huge move to evict illegal aliens in India, just as Trump is doing. And Trump is in no position to oppose that. Now, remember, I will take a step back. In 2019, August 5, when India revoked Article 370, the US media for almost a few months, if not weeks, day after day, ran these stories about India implementing the NRC, the National Register for Citizens, where every person has to produce documents about their authenticity, their birth being in India, and so on. And basically, it was a very indirect way of saying, oh, look, India is going to evict all these Muslims because there's a Hindu majority or majoritarian government. Sorry for that. And you can see that lot of such action is happening, and this time, as I said, the Americans are clearly in no position to lecture India, and India is going to take that opportunity because surely we have enough people in the country to be inviting more illegals and so on. So surely this is not in our interest, and we are not going to kind of allow too many of these kind of characters to be here. I am going to bring in another thing. This is, yes. So, this gentleman is Asaduddin Owaisi. He's a Muslim leader. He's part of the delegation with the, which is going to different countries. He was recently in Bahrain. Now he's in Kuwait with a group of MPs. He is also talking the same things as Shashi Tharoor is. He's also an opposition leader. He gets on that mic and podium every other day and spews a lot of venom against Narendra Modi, against BJP. Uh, and therefore, for him to do what he's doing, he's popular amongst the Muslim population. This is not good news for Trump. And you might think that why am I bringing Indian internal politics, not just of a communal nature, but of party politics here? Because the Americans have been interfering in a very big way. And each of these things that I'm showing you is going to hurt them. And that is one of the reasons why Narendra Modi is very happy to do this at this point of time. And I will. Uh, Let me see if there is more that I need to share. There was an unconfirmed report, so I'm not going to talk about it much, but I am going to show you something. And so this is Doval meeting Lavrov in Moscow a while back. This is a file picture. So 3 days back, there was a news. 2 days back, when was it? I think day before night. So there was a report in one online newspaper, whatever, that Doval will be traveling to Moscow and he will be meeting the Pakistan NSA. And I was just wondering now, that is a very big deal. If Doval travels to Moscow, not to Washington, to Moscow, and he talks to the Pakistani NSA and not the foreign minister, that is a very different deal from what the Americans want India to do. Now, you can always scratch your heads and decipher why America wants India to talk to Pakistan. Why are they not negotiating with the Houthi rebels? Is there any difference between the two? I wonder. Now, the thing is that if this meeting had gone ahead, right now it stands cancelled because Ajit Doval is down with suspected flu. So you can read between the lines. Right after this cancellation, a news item came through that Vikram Misri, India's foreign secretary, and the deputy NSA will be traveling to Washington. Now, I must tell you, this is a serious downgrade of the Americans by India because they're sending a foreign secretary and a deputy NSA. There are no phone calls between Modi and Trump. There are no phone calls between Jaishankar and Rubio or Vance. There are no phone calls between India's NSA and America's NSA. All that is completely quiet. And for much of last week, the US think tanks and think tankers, if I may, were very quiet on the social media, and they were just absorbing what India is doing. Today, they are a little more aggressive, a little more strident, and I do watch that to see what CENTCOM or Pentagon or White House is telling its forces to kind of communicate. What is their narrative? And the narrative right now seems to be a bit of a pause. Yes, there is um, some effort to kind of downgrade India's victory by saying, no, no, you didn't strike here. Pakistan is also struck there. Are you sure? Where is the source of that? And where is the source of this? Well, so these are some of the things that India has done in the last 10, 15 days. Some of them predate the Operation Sindoor. But all this shows that there is a clear message that India has sent. And one thing I forgot to mention on May 12th, Narendra Modi made a very strident speech where he put three conditions for Pakistan, which was no trade, no talks, no um, no water if there's terror. So this is a very strong message, and he did not say that Trump or America negotiated, and he did not take anyone's name. And it was very clear that he even mentioned that the Pakistanis called us and said stop, so we stopped for now. So all this is showing that some of the things that Trump have has done, for whatever reasons, has really fallen flat when it comes to India, and they are going to have a very tough time turning this relationship around. Look, the governments can always take a complete U-turn in a matter of days. It's geopolitics. But I can tell you from the analyst, from the think tanks, general public, observers, watchers, news anchors, journalists, India is really fed up with the US, and they will know this. So if they're persisting with whatever it is, it appears to be like, as I mentioned in my previous video, a strategic shift. So please watch that as well to get the full picture. Hope you enjoyed this coverage of mine. I will continue to dig deep into these events because not everything is known open source, but I try my best. Do leave your comments. I like to interact with you. And surely, I mean, you can add some new things to what I don't know, I haven't covered. Interestingly, that other video did kind of well in Pakistan also. Of course, they didn't comment, but we get all the stats. So very surprising viewership from Pakistan, also from Europe. So hope you enjoyed this and keep watching. Like this video, subscribe. And this is Samit from Talks on Ground. Bye bye.